So today we are going to start chapter number 5, that is a part of unit number 2. So in unit 2 we are going to study about chapter number 5. Unit 2 talks about structural organization in plants and animals. How is the structure? Before that we studied about different types, classifications, right, until now. How we classify the animals. Now we are going to talk about structurally how we organize the animals. So the description of different life forms on earth was made only by observation. So whatever we described about the life forms on the earth, only based on observation it was done through our naked eyes, and later because of magnifier lens and microscope. So the description is mainly gross structural features, external and internal, both structural features only. Based on that we describe. In addition to observable and perceivable living phenomena were also recorded as part of the description. So along with observable and perceivable living phenomena was also recorded. So what we can perceive about living organisms, what we think about them based on that. Before experimental biology, or more specifically physiology. Physiology is nothing but the study of life forms, the study of organisms. We are studying based on their appearance, what is happening inside the organism. The physiology was established as part of biology. Naturalists described only biology before that, but along with experimental biology, physiology was established as part of biology later. Okay, so biology remained as a natural history for a very long time. The description by itself was so amazing in terms of detail. The initial reaction of a student could be boredom. Initially when you study this you may get bored, but you should keep in mind that detailed description was used in the later day. Reductionist biology, where living processes drew more attention from scientists than description of life forms and their structure, than just description of life form, than just their structure. Just not these. Reductionist biologists also observe the living processes. So detailed description was given. Hence, the description became more meaningful and helpful in framing research to the questions in physiology or evolutionary biology. In the following chapters, we will be studying about structural organization in plants and animals, including structural basis of physiological or behavioral phenomena. So, for convenience, the description of morphological and anatomical features is presented separately. You are going to study about anatomy and physiology of plants and animals separately. So, Catherine Isau was born in Ukraine in 1898. She studied agriculture from Russia and Germany, and she received her doctorate in 1931 at, that is, in US. She reported in her early publications that the curly top virus, she studied about the curly top virus. So what did she tell about the curly top virus? She told that it spreads through a plant via food conducting phloem tissue. Plants have food conducting or phloem tissue. So the tissues of plants that distribute food among each other, that is known as phloem tissue. So Dr. Isau's Plant Anatomy was published in 1954. It took a dynamic developmental approach and designed to enhance one's understanding of plant structure and enormous impact worldwide. She is literally bringing about a revival in the discipline. The Anatomy of Seed Plants by Catherine Isau was published in 1960. So anatomy was about anatomy of seed plants was published in 1960. It was referred to as Webster's of Plant Biology. It is an encyclopedia. In 1957, she was elected to National Academy of Sciences, becoming the sixth woman to receive the honor. In addition to the prestigious award, she also got National Medal of Science from President George Bush in 1989. When Catherine died in 1997, Peter Raven, director of anatomy and morphology, Missouri Botanical Garden, remembered that she absolutely dominated the field of plant biology even at the age of 99. So, what all awards did she get? She was the sixth woman to receive the honor, National Academy of Sciences. In that, she was elected as president. and she received the National Medal of Science from George Bush. So these were the awards that she got. So now let's start with morphology of flowering plants. So we talk about wide range of plants. All those things fascinate us very much. Angiosperms are, even though angiosperms show large diversity in external structure or morphology, they are characterized mainly. What do they have? They are all different. See, angiosperms are just like you and me. They are completely different. All angiosperms are not same. Everything looks different, but they all have these characteristics like roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. Just like all of us have hands, legs, head, eyes, correct? They have roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. So that is characteristic of them. We spoke about classification, we spoke about other things. So we are going to talk now about the different parts. Okay, we need to know about the possible variation in different parts that is found as adaptation. So different parts of the plants got adapted to do different things. How animals walk in four legs, but we don't walk in four legs because our legs got adapted to do other work. So adaptations happen. Adaptations to various habitats for protection, climbing, storage, etc. based on where the plant is found, it has to get adapted, right, to do a certain kind of work. So if you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have roots, stems and leaves. That is common. They can be flowering, they can be having fruits. So we are going to talk about, see, the part that is underground. The underground portion of the plant is known as the root system, and the portion that is above the ground is known as the shoot system. Now let's talk first from the root. Let's start from the root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plants, the direct elongation of the radicle, so directly the radicle gets elongated downward to form the primary root. So this is what down portion gets elongated, it becomes long and it forms a root like this. So that is known as the primary root. This grows inside the soil and it has lateral roots for several orders, that is known as secondary, tertiary. So from this primary root, one root comes out. Different roots come from this. They are known as secondary root. From these secondary roots, tertiary roots come. These are known as tertiary roots. So the primary roots and its branches constitute the taproot system. When you talk about the primary root and its branches, that is known as the taproot system, that we can see in mustard. Whereas in monocotyledonous plants, so this is seen in dicotyledonous plant. Dicotyledonous plants are nothing but they have two cotyledons in their seed. If you cut their seed and if you remove them, they will form dicot. They are having two cotyledons, whereas monocots have only one cotyledon. So in monocotyledonous plants, the primary root is very short-lived. This main primary root, this is short-lived. It doesn't grow long and become one main root. So the primary root doesn't remain like this in the form of primary root. It is short-lived. So there is no primary root. Actually, there are multiple roots like this. This is known as fibrous root system and the plant grows on top of that. So monocots have fibrous root system because the primary root is short-lived and replaced by large number of roots. These roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system that we can see in wheat plant. Can you separate a wheat seed into two pieces? No, it's a monocot. In some plants like grass, monstera and the banyan tree, roots arise from parts of the plant other than the radicle. This part is known as a radicle. It doesn't come from radicle. In some parts of the plant, the roots don't come from radicle. It comes from different other parts, that is known as adventitious root system. The main functions of the root are absorption of water. What does the root do? It absorbs water. It absorbs minerals from the soil and it gives support to the plant. It stores the food and it does synthesis of plant growth regulators. To regulate the growth of the plant, we require certain kind of hormones. And who produces them? Root. Roots produce them. They help in producing certain kind of plant growth regulator to regulate the growth of the plant. They store the reserve food material, they can provide anchorage, they can hold the plant, they can absorb water and minerals from the soil. All these things they can do. So you can see here, this is our tap root system, because here we have our main root. This is tap root. Then we have lateral roots coming out from it. This is fibrous root. Multiple roots are coming out. This is adventitious root. See, from the stem the roots are coming out. Roots don't come from here. Roots don't come from here. They are coming from other parts. So this is known as adventitious root. Now let's talk about the different parts of the root. We learned about what is a root. Let's talk about parts now. So the root is basically having root cap below. It has like this kind of root cap. It is thimble like structure. Okay, this kind of structure is known as a thimble. So this structure is known as thimble. This thimble like structure is known as the root cap below. It helps the root to go into the soil, enter the soil and grow, right? And top of that you have region of meristematic activity. You can see this dot cells. These cells are very rapidly growing cells. They grow very fast. Okay, these cells grow very rapidly. So they are known as region of meristematic activity. Meristematic cells are a type of cells which grow very fast. So they grow, and as they grow, the root is going down below the soil, correct? The root will grow below in the soil, and these top roots, the top part of the roots, the cells, top parts of the cells become mature. Down part are continuously growing. It is going down. So here we have region of meristematic activity, which is helping the roots to grow. But top are the roots which have already grown. So they are elongating. It is causing this plant to become longer and longer, correct? This part of the plant is continuously becoming longer and longer. This part of the root. And above that, we have region of mature. That is mature part. The part that has completely become mature. This part is it has been matured and it has grown completely. This part is growing, it is becoming longer, and this part are the baby cells, which are small, tiny, which are just producing continuously more and more cells. It is rapidly growing, and this helps. This is a thimble like structure which helps the root to go into the soil. So this is what I explained to you. So let's read it once. So the root is covered by the apex by a thimble like structure that I told you, the root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root and it makes it through the soil. So this apex part, this part is apex, that is having thimble like structure. This is thimble like structure. Down part of the root is the apex of the root, end of the root. It protects it and makes a way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap we have region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin walled with dense protoplasm. Dense protoplasm means the cytoplasm is very dense because they need to multiply, right, again and again. So they divide rapidly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation because the cells down are multiplying. So above that they undergo rapid elongation and they are responsible for the growth of root in length. This region is known as region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually they differentiate. They take up their work because they are grown up now. So they take up their work and they become mature. Hence the zone proximal to this region is known as region of maturation. Proximal means next to that. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form very fine and delicate thread-like structures. They are known as root hair. The root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil. That is the work of these kind of root hairs. They will absorb water from the soil, minerals from the soil. That is the main function of the root, right? Now let's talk about the stem. So what are the features that distinguish the stem from a root? What makes the stem different? So the stem is ascending part, whereas root is descending. Root is going down, growing downward. The stem is growing upward, correct? So the stem grows upward, whereas root grows downward. So it is known as ascending part of the axis. It bears branches, it has leaves, flowers and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. So seed has different parts. This is our seed. Here we have our plumule. Plumule will grow up and it will form the stem. Here we have our radicle which grows down and forms the root. So the region of the stem where the leaves are born are called nodes. So we have nodes and internodes. Nodes means the region where leaves are present. In stem, leaves will be present. That is known as node. For example, this is my stem. Here we have leaf. Here we have some leaf attached. So this part is known as my node. This is my node. Okay, wherever the leaves are present, this is node. So we have node and internode, and the gap between these two nodes, that will be called as my internode. Between two nodes, the portion that we have is internode. So the stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Terminal, it can be, the buds can be growing. If this is my stem, at the end we can have bud. This is known as terminal bud. Or we can have them axillary or auxiliary. Axillary buds. So buds can be present here or it can be present here, some other place, correct? So the stem is generally green when it is young, and later it becomes woody. So the woody stems that you see, they were green only when they were young, and then they become dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches and bearing. See, it is spreading out the branches, and it bears leaves, flowers and fruits. It conducts water and minerals. Root function is to take water, minerals from the soil and send to the stem, and the leaf function is root absorbs water and stem conducts water. It sends the water to different parts, minerals, and it does photosynthesis. It prepares food. Some stems perform the function of storage of food. If somebody is preparing food, the stem has to also store the food, right? So it also stores food, it supports the plant, it helps the plant to stand straight, it gives protection, and vegetative propagation it does. Vegetative propagation means you have seen rose plant, right? If this is my rose plant, I can cut this rose plant. So for example, this is some plant, any plant. I can cut this plant and I can plant it. That will produce another plant. So from stem we can grow the plant, right? So that is known as vegetative propagation. We can grow an entire plant through vegetative propagation. Means it can grow into a new plant. Now let's talk about leaf. We understood about stem. What does the stem do? Let's talk about leaf. So leaf is lateral. It has flattened structure, bone on the stem. It develops at the node, right? I told you it develops here at the node, and bears, or here at the node, wherever the node is present, and bears bud in its axial. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. The leaves originate from shoot, apical meristems, and are arranged in acropetal order. They are most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts. This is very important. Leaf has base. So this part of the leaf is known as leaf base, and this part is the axillary bud. Leaf is coming from axillary bud, right? So from this axillary bud, the leaf, at the base of the leaf, we can have axillary bud. This part which is supporting the leaf, which is holding the leaf to the stem, this is known as petiole, and here you can have a kind of structure which is known as stipule. This flat surface of the leaf is known as our lamina. Okay, so let's read it now. So leaf base, petiole and lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by leaf base. It is attached to the stem by leaf base, and it can bear two lateral small leaf-like structures called stipules. See here, it is having leaf-like structure which is called stipule. In monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen. This leaf base can become swollen in some leguminous plants, which is called pulvinous or petiole. So this part can become swollen. It can become big, which is called pulvinous or pulvinous. Okay, the petiole help to hold the leaf blade. This petiole is the part which holds the leaf blade, and it is long, thin, which allows the leaf to flutter in the wind, which causes cooling effect, and it brings fresh air to the leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blade. This is the lamina or leaf blade. That is green expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlets. It has vein and veinlet, as you can see here. This is veins. This is called midrib. This is called vein, and from vein we have tiny veinlets. There is usually middle prominent vein which is known as midrib, as I told you. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade and they act as channels for support of water, minerals and food materials. The shape and margin of the apex surface and extent of incision of lamina varies at different leaf. How much the leaf is cut, incision of lamina, that can depend in different leaves. Okay, so let's talk. You will understand what are these things now. So venation means how the veins are present. So we can have reticulate venation or we can have parallel venation. Reticulate means network like, and in parallel you can see here, in case of parallel, our leaf has straight veins here like this, parallelly it is present. See, it is all parallel, the veins are parallel, straight line, but here it is like a network, reticulate. This is known as reticulate venation. Parallel venation is found in monocot, whereas reticulate venation is found in dicots. So that is what is written here, you can see. So the arrangement of the leaves, veins and veinlets is referred to as venation. How it is arranged, that is called venation. Veinlets form a network and the venation is termed as reticulate if it is having network. When the veins run parallel to each other, that is called parallel venation. Dicotyledonous plants have reticulate venation. Parallel venation is present in monocot plants. That's all, whatever I told you is written here. Types of leaf, you have simple leaf and compound leaf. So simple leaf is when the leaf is complete, whole, it is not cut, that is known as a simple leaf. So this entire one leaf will be called as my simple leaf, whereas some leaves are there which are cut into small pieces, many small mini leaf will be present, that is known as a compound leaf. And it can be pinnately compound or palmately compound. Pinnately compound means you have one middle, this is my midrib, right? From here the leaf had to be like this actually, but the leaf is not present like this, rather we have our midrib, that is called rachis. Okay, from here tiny leaves are present, tiny leaves on the rachis, that is known as our pinnately compound. Palmately compound means just like palm it looks, just like our hand it looks, from one point multiple leaves come out, that is known as palmately leaf. Like you can see in silk cotton, this is palmately leaf, this is pinnately compound leaf. So it can be simple or compound. When the lamina is complete, that is entire, or when it is inside, the incisions do not touch the midrib. Even if it is cut, the incisions will not touch the midrib, still middle it will not go. When the cuts, incision means cut, when the cuts on the lamina reach up the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, see here we have multiple tiny leaflet, so then it is called compound. A bud is present in the axial of the petiole in both simple and compound leaf. That bud will be present, that we know, but not on the axial of leaflet. How do you know that these are not leaves? How do you know these are not leaf but they are leaflet? They are complete leaf which is cut into small pieces. How do you know? Because here we don't have bud. Bud will be present only over here. See, bud will be present only over here. So we know that this entire thing is a leaf. This entire thing is one leaf because bud is present here. See, it is not present in the axial of the leaflet of compound leaf. The compound leaves may be two types. It can be pinnately compound or palmately compound, as I told you. So if it is present on common axis rachis, which represents the midleaf, as in neem, and palmately compound is it is attached to a common point, that is tip of the petiole, like in silkworm. Now how the leaves are arranged, that is called phyllotaxy. Leaves are arranged in one by one. See, one leaf is present here, then one leaf is present bottom. How it is present? See, one leaf here, one leaf here, one leaf here, one leaf here, or both the leaves are attached side by side to each other. That is called as opposite type of phyllotaxy. So phyllotaxy means, see, this is my midrib. Okay, so here we have our leaf attached. Beside this, if I have another leaf attached, this is called opposite type of venation. But if I have a leaf attached here and another leaf attached below that, two leaves are not attached beside each other, another leaf is attached here, so this type of combination is known as our alternate, and this is known as our opposite. Okay, some plants have opposite and some plants have alternate. This is not present in one plant. And whorled means at one point we have multiple leaves can be present, that is known as a whorled leaf. So phyllotaxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or a branch. This usually is of three types: alternate, opposite, and whorled. In alternate type of phyllotaxy, single leaf comes from each node. In opposite manner, as in China rose, mustard, and sunflower plants. In opposite, a pair of leaf come. From one place only we have pair of leaf, two leaves coming at each node and lie opposite to each other, as in calotropis and guava plant. If more than two leaves are coming from at a node, and if it is forming a whorl, it is called whorled. That is in Alstonia example. Inflorescence means flowers. Okay, how the flowers are arranged, how the leaves were arranged, that is called phyllotaxy. Now how the flowers are arranged on a plant, that is called inflorescence. So a flower is modified shoot. The shoot itself become a flower. It is a part of shoot system, right? Shoot apical meristem changes into floral meristem. So meristem is the tissues, cells which form the different parts. So shoot system only becomes flower. The internodes do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages laterally at successive nodes instead of leaves. Instead of leaves, it produces flowers. When a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of the flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence, what I told you. So depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescence are defined: racemose or cymose. Racemose means the type of inflorescence that main axis continues to grow. Racemose means the plant will keep on growing, the main axis will keep growing, and it will produce flowers. It produces flowers. It does produce flower, but the main axis will keep growing. See here, it produces flower, but the main axis can keep on growing. That is known as our racemose. It is just like a race. The plant is continuously growing. Whereas if you talk about cymose, in cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis will terminate with a flower. So it terminates with a flower. If this is my main axis, this main axis will end with a flower. So it cannot grow further, right? This is known as our cymose type of inflorescence. This is not in a race. It is not running. It stops. So that is cymose inflorescence. Hence, it is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in basipetal order. Now let's talk about flower. So the flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperms. It is present for reproduction, that is sexual reproduction. It produces male and female gametes. Some flowers can be male, some flowers can be female, or one flower only can have both male and female parts. All those are possible. So a typical flower has four different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk and pedicel. So it can have four different whorls produced at the stalk and pedicel, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So these four whorls are present. So in a flower, if you talk about flower is starting from here, right? So it is having these four parts. This is calyx, this is our corolla, it can have androecium, male part, and female part is gynoecium. So it has four main whorls. Whorls means just like four main parts. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some plants, like flowers like lily and calyx, and lily, the calyx and corolla do not distinguish from each other. So calyx and corolla. So this sepal, basically this is known as sepal, and this is known as corolla, petal. These both are separate, right? You can see here clearly green color is separated from the red color. So this is known as, both are separate. But if you talk about in some plants, they are not distinct. Calyx and corolla are not separate, they are fused together, both are seen together. Green color only becomes slowly bluish, pinkish, different color. So that is known as perianth. That you have seen lily, right? All of you can look at lily. In lily, the part is continuing. Calyx only becomes the petal. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is called bisexual. If one flower only has both androecium and gynoecium, that is known as bisexual. If a flower is having only stamens or it is having only carpels, it is known as unisexual. In symmetry, a flower can be actinomorphic, that is radial symmetry. You can cut the flower. See, for example, I will draw radial symmetry. This is radial symmetry flower, correct? I can cut it from any axis. This is radial symmetry. But there may be some flowers which are bilateral symmetry. For example, some flower is just looking like this. So this is bilateral symmetry. I can cut it only from one axis. I cannot cut it from other axis. So that is known as bilateral symmetry. Or some flower looks like this, for example, I can cut it only from here, so that is bilateral symmetry. So we can have zygomorphic, so actinomorphic radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, that is bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal halves, that is known as radial symmetry. It is said to be, if it cannot be divided, sorry, yes, actinomorphic means radial symmetry, I told, right? So radial symmetry means when if you can cut it from any place, that is called as actinomorphic. Datura, mustard, chili. When it can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, then it is called zygomorphic, that is the bilateral symmetry. Pea, gulmohar, bean, cassia. A flower is asymmetrical if we cannot divide it at all into two equal halves from any plane, then it is called. The example is kanna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous when floral appendages are multiples of 3, 4 and 5. For example, it is having 3 petals, 4 petals, 5 petals, multiples of that. Okay, multiple of 3, 4 and 5 if it is having, it is called trimerous, tetramerous or pentamerous. Flowers with bracts reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called bracteate. It can have a small, at the base of the pedicel, it can have a small, like a kind of leaf, small leaf is present at the base of the flower. So for example, this is my some kind of flower, okay, simply I have drawn something. Here if you have a small leaf-like structure, small tiny leaf-like structure, that is called as bracteate, and if it does not have that, it is called ebracteate. So now we are going to study about the position of floral parts on appendages. So on different parts, how the floral parts are arranged based on that. So we have hypogynous flower, okay. Hypogynous means, see, look here. So this is very important. You can see this gynoecium, the middle part of the plant. This is present on the top, right? This is on the top. This is female part, okay. So this female part of the plant is present on the top. Others are present below it. You can see here this portion of the plant is present above, and we can see others are present below this. Others are present below this. Everything else is present below it. So this is known as hypogynous, because gynoecium is female part, right? That is hypo. It is present above. Okay. Next, if you see here, other parts. For example, if you look here, this is the part, this part is present here, right? So almost everything is present equally. All the other parts are present in the same axis, similar part. So that is known as perigynous. All are present, basically other parts are present above the gynoecium, correct? All the other parts are present here. If you see, this is epigynous. Here clearly it is above. Here it is almost equal. So that is known as perigynous. Peri means all the parts are almost equal in the same axis. Here also this is equal. Almost it is present on the equal axis, on the same level. And here it is present. And here it is present. And here it is present above. So that is known as my epigynous. So let me just read and tell you, you will be able to understand better. Based on the position of calyx, corolla and rhizome in respect to ovary or on the thalamus. With respect to ovary, where the petal, calyx, corolla, sepal, calyx means sepal, corolla, petal and rhizome, where they are present on the with respect to ovary on the thalamus, okay. So the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. In hypogynous flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position. In hypogynous, gynoecium is occupying the highest position with other parts situated below it. Such flowers are said to be superior because gynoecium is superior. Mustard, china rose and brinjal. If gynoecium is situated at the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus above, almost at the same level. See, almost at same level. Gynoecium is present here. They are present on the rim of the flower almost at same level. The petals and all are present at same level, right, with this androecium. That is known as our perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior. Example, plum, rose and peach. Ovary is half inferior. When you talk about epigynous flowers, the margin of the thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely. Ovary becomes completely inside the plant. See, ovary is completely present inside. Everything else is growing about. So this is known as the epigynous. So this is said to be inferior ovary. That is in plants guava, cucumber, and the ray florets of sunflower. Now let's talk about parts of the flower. So parts of the flower are different parts. So we have calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. I told you about these different parts of the flower. Androecium. So calyx means, calyx is the outermost wall of the flower, the green color sepal. Okay, the generally sepals are green, leaf-like, and they protect the plant in bud stage. The calyx can be gamosepalous, that is, sepals can be united, or it can be polycephalous. Sepals are free, so the sepals can be united. So here, entire sepal is one. Okay, we don't have separate splits in the sepal. But if the sepals are present like this, then it is called as polycephalous. Sepals are free. Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Corolla is nothing but petal. Petals are usually brightly colored because they want to attract the insects for pollination. Pollination means insects will come and sit on the flower to suck the nectar, and pollination. So pollen grains will stick on the insect. Pollen grains are male gametes. So that will be transferred to the other plant when the insect is going and sitting on the other plant, and that will go to the female part of the plant, and it will grow into a seed then, and helping the plant to grow. So just like calyx, corolla may be gamopetalous. Petals can be united, that is gamopetalous. Polypetalous means petals are free. Multiple petals are present, that is called polypetalous. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. Different types of corollas are there. You have seen that. So now what is estivation? The mode of arrangement of sepals or petals on the bud with respect to other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. How the sepals and petals are present, that is known as estivation. The main types of estivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. So you can see here, if the sepals, petals, all these are present like this separately. See, one petal, one petal, one petal, one petal, one petal, one petal. All the petals are present separately. They are not curled on top of each other. That is known as valvate type of estivation. Okay, estivation means how the petals and sepals are arranged. So here if you see, the petals in case of B are twisted. Twisted means what? One is present here above one, this is present above another 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 one. So this is twisted type of estivation. Whereas if you talk about now let's talk about imbricate. Imbricate means one is present in the middle, then two are present above it, then this is present above this, and this is present above this. So on top of each other, others are present. One is in middle, on top of that the other two are present, on top of that other two are present. That is known as imbricate. Whereas vexillary, you can see here, vexillary we have one petal which is fused, on top of that other, on top of that we'll have other. So that you can see, this is how it looks. Okay, when the petals are present like this, this is known as our different types of estivation. When sepals and petals are involved, just touch each other at the margin without overlapping, they don't overlap, that is in Calotropis, it is said to be valvate. See, they are not overlapping each other, they are just touching each other. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next, and so on, in China rose, radius finger, and cotton, it is said to be twisted. One is overlapping the other, that is said to be twisted. If the margins of sepals and petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction, see here, it doesn't have particular proper direction, so that is known as Acacia and Gulmohar are example, that is known as imbricate. Whereas if you talk about pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest standard overlaps the lateral 2 petals, wings, which in turn overlap the 2 smallest interior petals, keel. So we have 2 interior petals, smallest interior petals, on top of that we have other 2 petals, and one largest petal is overlapping them, one big petal. That is known as vexillary type or papillonious type. So papillonious word is very important here. Papillonious means vexillary estivation, where we have one small petal, on top of one small petal another 2 petals are overlapping, which is covered by a very large petal. Next, we'll talk about androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens, that is male part. Each stamen represents the male reproductive organ. It consists of a stalk and filament and an anther. So, anther is usually bilobed and each lobe has two chambers. The pollen sacs. The pollen sacs are produced in pollen grains are produced in pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called staminode. If a stamen is sterile, it doesn't have pollen grains. It cannot produce pollen grains. Okay, so that is known as a staminode. Stamens on the flower may be united with other members such as petals or among themselves when the stamens are attached to the petal. When stamen is being attached to the petal, it is called epipetalous, that is in brinjal, or epiphyllous when it is attached to perianth of the flower of lily. So the stamens of the flower may be remaining free, that is called polyandrous, or they can be united in different degrees. The stamens may be united into one bunch, that is called monoadelphous. If all the stamens are, see, this is how stamen looks. I think diagram might be given. Okay, it is not given. So this is the male part, androecium. Okay, this is my stamen. So the stamen, this is one stamen, this is another stamen I have drawn. So in middle we have our gynoecium part. Okay, so here in stamen we have stalk. So this part is known as our stalk. Then a stalk or filament and an anther. So here we have anther. Anther is bilobed. It is having two lobes. And this is our male. This produces our pollen grains. Okay. Some which do not produce pollen grain are called staminode. So you can understand from here. And these stamens can be fused. Many stamens are joined together. It can be fused to the petal. It can be fused to the sepal. It can be, see, this is my petal, right? Here I have my petal. If it is attached to this petal, then it is called epipetalous. If it is attached to the perianth, as in flower of lily, with perianth if it is attached, it is said to be epiphyllous. Diadelphous, if two stamens are attached together, 1 and 2. If 3 are attached, many are attached in bunches. If one stamen, see here, one stamen is present. I drew one stamens. Or if two stamens are attached together, that is called diadelphous. Polyadelphous, if many are attached. Example, citrus. There are many variations of length of filaments within a flower, as in salvia and mustard. Some have different length of this filament. This part is called filament. That length can be different in many plants. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and it is made up of one or more carpels. A carpel consists of three main parts, namely stigma, style and ovary. Ovary is the enlarged basal part. So this ovary down we have large basal part, that is called our ovary, which lies on the elongated tube, the style. So this is my style. Style is usually at the tip of the style is receptive surface. So the stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is the more receptive surface for the pollen grains. So this is my stigma. Here we have the stigma, which is going to receive the pollen grains. Pollen grains are going and coming and sticking on this. So this is known as my stigma, because it is going to stick. Pollen grains are going to stick on this, whereas this is known as my style. Each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to a flattened, cushioned placenta. When here we have placenta, here different ovules are attached. This pollen grains will go here, it will pass through inside, it will form a pollen tube and it goes and attaches with the ovules. Okay, so here inside ovary we have ovules, and with ovules who is going to go and fertilize? Pollen grains through pollen tube. Then it is going to form the, then fertilization takes place. Okay, and it forms the fruit. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus or rose, that is called apocarpus. They are termed as syncarpus when carpels are fused. as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seed, they become seed, and ovary matures into fruit, as I told you. So placentation, the arrangement of ovules in the ovary is known as placentation. How these ovules are attached inside the ovary, that is known as my placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, free central. So these are different types. Okay, marginal means, see, you can see here we have a straight line, all ovules are attached in straight line like in peas. This is called marginal. Here if you see, this is radial type. Here we have attached like this. So this is axial type, sorry, an axis it is present, axial type. Whereas if you talk about this, this is parietal, it is present on this surface. Whereas here if you see, this is free central, freely they are present in the center, they are not attached. If they were attached to the axis in the center, that will be called as axial, but here we have free central. And if you see this attached to the base, it is attached to base directly, it doesn't have one axis or attached to axis something. This is called basal. Examples of everything is given. Marginal placentation is forming ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and ovules are born on this ridge, forming two rows in P. When placenta is axial, the ovules are attached in multiocular ovary placentation, and it is said to be axial, like in China rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal presentation, ovules develop in inner wall of the ovary and peripheral part. Ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambered to form false septum. Example in mustard and argemone, it can form a false division, a small kind of septum to separate the ovary. When ovules are born on the central axis of the septa, central axis, and the septa are absent, that is in dianthus and primrose, the septa is absent. The placentation is called free central, when there is nothing in middle, I told you, right? When there is no part present in the middle, freely it is present in the center, that is called free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of the ovary and single ovule is attached to it, that is in sunflower and marigold. Now let's talk about the fruit. The fruit is a characteristic feature of flowering plants. It is mature and ripened ovary. When this ovary only becomes ripened after the fusion with pollen grains, that is called the fruit. The fruit, if fruit is formed without fertilization only, if the fruit becomes formed, that is called as parthenocarpic fruit. Generally the fruit consists of wall or pericarp, it is having a wall outside, and seeds. Pericarp can be dry or fleshy. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp, the middle mesocarp, and endocarp. It is having three parts. Okay, if the pericarp is very thick, outer part of the fruit, if it is very thick, it is having epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, as you can see in this mango and coconut. See, outermost layer, this carp is very thick, right? If it is thick, it is having outermost is epicarp, middle part is mesocarp, inside near the seed is endocarp. Same way you can see for the coconut. In mango and coconut, the fruit is known as a drupe. They develop from monocarpillary superior ovaries and are one-seeded, because they have only one seed. From one ovary they are formed. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into an outer thin epicarp, middle fleshy edible mesocarp, and inner stony hard endocarp. In coconut, which is also drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. The seed, let's talk about the seed now. Ovules after fertilization become seed. The seed is made up of seed coat and embryo. The embryo is made up of radicle, an embryonal axis, and one or two cotyledons. So we have embryonal axis or one or two cotyledon. Okay, so you can see here two cotyledons are present. Here also two cotyledons are present. This is plumule. I told you plumule grows into stem, radicle grows into root. These are the two cotyledons. Outermost covering of a seed is called seed coat. The seed coat has two layers. The outermost is testa, inner tegmen. The hilum is a scar. Okay, so it is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. So the seed was attached to the fruit from here, from hilum. Above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle. Within the seed coat, is the embryo consisting of embryonal axis and the two cotyledons. Cotyledons are often fleshy and full of reserve food material. They have reserve food material inside here. This also has reserve food material because when the seed is growing, it needs food, right, to grow into a plant. So it has some food material stored inside. That's why we eat some seeds, because they have nutrition. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present radicle and plumule. In some seeds, such as castor, endosperm is formed as a result of double fertilization. In some seeds like castor oil you have seen, right? So in castor seed, because of double fertilization, this pollen grains can go and fuse, and one causes endosperm, that is known as endosperm, which is a result of double fertilization, and that is food storing tissue, that is called endospermic seeds. In plants such as bean, gram, and pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds, and such seeds are called non-endospermous if they don't have endosperm. Now let's talk about structure of monocotyledonous seed. So monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic, but some, as orchids, are also non-endospermic. Endospermic means, I told you, they have an endosperm layer extra for storing food. In seeds of cereal such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and generally fused with the fruit wall. Endosperm is bulky and stores food in them. So the outer covering of the endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer called aleurone layer. So they have an aleurone layer. The embryo is small and situated in the groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of one large shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum. The short axis of the plumule and radicle. The plumule and radicle are enclosed by sheaths which are called cleoptile and coleorhiza separately. See here. Here you can see radicle and coleorhiza. This is my plumule. This is this layer is called the coleoptile, which is protecting it. Okay. Then you can see the scutellum here, and this is called endosperm. This is my protein layer. Above this endosperm we have one layer, right? This lined layer which you can see. This is proteinaceous layer. This has protein, that is called aleurone layer, and this is the seed coat. Entire seed is having a coating, that is called the seed coat. You can see here embryo is present. This is my endosperm. These are some semi-technical description of typical flowering plant. Rather than representing an entire plant using big statements, we can use one alphabet to show whether it is bracteate, whether petals are fused, whether it is having bract present at the bottom, how is the arrangement of the plant. We can show them using this diagram like this. So this is known as the how we are going to talk about the plant. So this is description has to be brief and in simple scientific language and is presented in proper sequence. The plant is described from the beginning with its habitat, vegetative characteristics. We are going to describe the root, stem and leaves, and then floral characteristics, that is inflorescence. The flower parts. After describing various parts of the plant, a floral diagram and floral formula are presented. So this is known as floral diagram. This diagram is my floral diagram, and this formula what you are able to see, this is called floral formula. The floral formula is represented with some symbols. In floral formula, BR means bracteate, means small bract is present. K means calyx. How is the calyx? 2 plus 2 is my calyx. Two petals are present. C for corolla. Sorry, calyx is sepal, right? So calyx. Then we have corolla. Then we have androecium. Corolla is the petal, so 4 petals are present. Gynoecium. P for perianth. A for androecium and G for gynoecium. Perianth, you know that. And A for androecium, G for gynoecium. So you can see calyx, corolla, androecium. Androecium is 2 plus 4, and gynoecium. So here gynoecium is superior. To show that, we write a line below it to show that the gynoecium is superior, and it is present in 2. So you can see here, that is how the diagram is. And these are the symbols. This is for male. If it is having a small spike on top of this, and because females we draw like this, this is the structure of female. Okay, this symbol represents female and this symbol represents male. If both are present, that is called bisexual plant. This means actinomorphic type of and this means zygomorphic, because actinomorphic means from any axis you can cut the plant. So this plant is my actinomorphic plant. It is having radial symmetry, whereas this is zygomorphic. Fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure within bracket. So if you write bracket anywhere, see here, wherever you see brackets, see gynoecium is fused, so we show bracket. And addition by a line above the symbols for the floral parts. Floral diagram provides information about the number of flowers and different arrangements. Who tells that? Floral diagram, the position of the mother axis respect to the floral diagram, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, all this you can read it. So what is adhered, I explained you. So this is just a way how we are going to represent. So Solanaceae, and only Solanaceae is there in your book this time. So Solanaceae is there. Solanaceae is a family of plants. It is called potato family. It is distributed into various topics and subtopics. Tropics. It is present in various tropics and subtropics, and it is present even in temperate zones. So vegetative characteristics are, they are mainly herbs, shrubs, and they are rarely small trees. Stem is herbaceous and rarely it is woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branch, solid or hollow, hairy or glabrous. Underground stem in potato, that you can see, potato is an underground stem. The stem is grown downward. Leaves are alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate. Venation is reticulate. Reticulate venation means the dicot. Inflorescence is solitary, axillary, cymose as in Solanaceae, in Solanum. Flower is bisexual, actinomorphic, both male and female is present, and actinomorphic is type of flowers, that is radial symmetry. Calyx sepals are five sepals are present. They are united, they are persistent, valvate estivation. You know what is valvate type of estivation. Corolla, petals are 5 united, and again we have valvate estivation. I told you here valvate estivation is how these are arranged. Petals, this is how the petals are arranged separately. All are present separately. That is my valvate type of estivation. Stamens are 5, epipetalous, bicarpellary, obligately placed, and syncarpous. Ovary is superior again. Bilocular, placenta swollen with many ovules, axile. Berry and or capsule type of fruits are present. Many seeds are there, and they are endospermous. They have the endosperm inside them. They are bisexual type of plants. They are actinomorphic. Calyx is 5 and it is fused. This is also 5, corolla, and it is fused. And here if you see, calyx and androecium are fused together. This arrow mark shows that calyx, androecium is fused with the calyx, and gynoecium is superior and 2. So all those are written. Economic importance are, they are in source of food, spice, medicine, fumigatory, that is tobacco, ornamental are petunia, ornamental plants. Examples you can read here. So this is the entire chapter. Hope you understood what I tried to explain you. It is a chapter which has to be read multiple times to master it. So you can go through the video multiple times, or you can just read it again and again after watching the video once, so that you will be able to understand all the concepts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next chapters. I'm going to upload biology, and soon we will be going to study chemistry and physics as well. Thank you very much. Meet you in the next video.